Hey guys, welcome to Hillbilly Talk with Shane Simmons, back again with another exciting episode. I don't know how exciting it is, but sounds good to say it's exciting, doesn't it? Let's talk about a little phenomenon I've been noticing here lately. There's this big crush of people, especially when COVID was going on, where a lot of folks from the north, mostly, some to some degree, the west coast, you had some Californians and whatnot moving into our area here, East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, Western North Carolina. So you saw, big push for that. I think a lot of that was because of course, cost of living. You're out here more rural, so it's not as exposed to COVID and all those types of things. But, you get out here, and now I'm seeing a lot of those folks are leaving. So we've had an influx, and now we're not quite as rapidly as they came in, but we're seeing a little trickle off of people starting to happen. And I wanted to address some of the reasons why that is happening, so that if you happen to be one of these people, because I would get it all the time, probably at least a few times a week, somebody says, hey, I'd like to move to Appalachia. They've never even been here before, so they don't really know what it's like. And if you're that person, you may want to watch this video, because there's a few things that you need to be prepared for to have success when you come here. So, one of the top reasons that people are leaving would unsurprisingly be cultural differences, right? So, it is a slow pace of life here. If you're used to any kind of fast-paced hustle and bustle. Now, you might need a break from that. We all do. But when you get down here and it's slow all day, every day, for years, that might be something that gets to be a little bit of a grind for you, especially if you have very active lifestyle. If you're into a lot of arts and that type of thing, you're really going to struggle in some of these very rural areas of Appalachia. That's just the way it is. Some other cultural differences would be, of course, traditional or biblical values. You don't see that as much away from here, but really to the core. Even in most cases, the most rabid drug addict still has faith in God and belief, and would fight you over that belief. So if you come in here and you come expecting, you get a lot of people come in here think they're Dr. Quinn medicine woman or something. They're going to come in here and change everybody's opinion and win them all over to their way of thinking. It's not going to happen. You're going to leave very frustrated and unhappy for sure. And then also not assimilating in these close-knit communities, because a lot of Appalachian people can be very standoffish until they get to know you. So if you got a gregarious personality, or you're very outgoing to get involved in community events and prove yourself to be a trustworthy, likable person, you're not going to have any problems. But if you shut off, most people aren't going to approach you. They just kind of let you stay to yourself. And, getting isolated like that is never any fun, in my world anyway. I've been in that situation a few times where I just moved to a neighborhood or, apartment complex or whatever it would be, that I just didn't fit in. And it just felt uncomfortable living there until I moved. So I'm not so much where I'm at now, which is good, thank goodness. But yeah, it's just more conservative here. It's just a fact. So if you're kind of a progressive, liberal type person, you're probably not going to be as happy with the move as other folks might be. So, be prepared. And if you're more conservative, you might like it a lot better. It's just the way it is. You're going to fit in a little bit better. Of course, another thing would be limited job opportunities. I know people think they know, but I don't think they really know how tough that can be in some of these areas. When you really get in a rural area, you got very few choices. Sometimes the school system, sometimes healthcare, and not a whole heck of a lot else in some of these areas. Not even coal mining anymore. Not that somebody's going to come down here from the north and be a coal miner, but there's just so few things you can do, and it catches up with a lot of people too. It's like they have very limited options if they want to leave the job they do have, or if they want to move into some other field. It's a lot more difficult when you're in a very rural area. So just know that going into it, and do your homework. Look at these, whether it be, where am I going to fit in the best? Where's most job opportunities? You move to Knoxville, Chattanooga, even Asheville to some degree, you're not going to have as much issue. But, if you're going to move to these real rural, a lot of people like these coal towns and so forth, and you're really going to have a hard time if you move to a place like that, if you have any kind of limited skill set. Another thing, healthcare access. You get in here, and in some of these places, it's just a long way to a reputable hospital or any type of health care for that matter, in some cases, you get out here very, very rural. It's a 30-minute drive, which is bad enough. But think about, you get out here in bad weather, you get out here snowy time of year, get snowed in, and trying to get yourself to the hospital. Because I found that most of the people that move here are on the older side of town. They're probably retirement age, and that healthcare should be a big factor in your decision making. So be sure to know that, okay, if I'm determined to come down here, I got to get somewhere that's kind of close to good healthcare. So have that on top of your mind when you're looking around, making your final choice about where you want to live. Another thing that I jotted down here about it too was the isolation. Like I said before, and accessibility, not just interpersonal, but also just when you get out here. This terrain can be very tough in some areas. And it appeals to a lot of people, but does it appeal to you long term, or is that just one of those things? I'd like to have a vacation. Go to the Smoky Mountains, get yourself a cabin for a week, go back a new person, new man or woman. But you get out here and you're living that lifestyle. You got a cabin out in the woods. It can be tough getting the groceries, again, getting health care, getting your medicine, getting the things you need. A lot of times there's a big running joke around here, but people scramble out to get milk and bread the first sign of snow, because if you've ever gotten a blizzard out of nowhere, it can be very difficult getting back out of these mountains sometimes. And I don't care if you got a four-wheel drive in some cases. And also, if you're from a different area, more urban area, they probably work the roads pretty quickly even after a major snowstorm. But sometimes that just doesn't happen around here because limited resources and large expansive area to cover. You could be snowed in for a pretty good while. So just keep that in mind. Again, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from any of this, but I also want to be realistic about what you may be getting yourself into. And another one that I jotted down was the climate and the geography. So, again, you're talking about, that's kind of what we were talking about just now, but climate and geography, you aren't ready for the snowfall, the power outages, which happens all the time. Here, you see that a lot. Internet access is out. Like even where I live now, if my internet's down, I can't make a phone call or anything. I'm just stuck. I'm trapped. I'm in no man's land. So that's a big thing. If you get in these rural communities, sometimes it is, like I said a little bit earlier, you can feel isolated. You don't have as many options to choose from. I hate that even for my own children. For example, it's easier in some areas to get a dance class for your daughter. So some of these towns have fast food available, but if you like sit-down restaurants or anything kind of unique, you're probably in for a pretty good long drive. And you get used to it if you're from here. Like when I lived in Richlands, we'd drive to Bluefield or Bristol or Kingsport every week. It'd be hour and a half drive. We had fun on the drive talking and sightseeing and whatever, but for somebody from the urban area, that could be very aggravating and a grind. And once you get away from it, now that I live much closer to that kind of stuff, it's like, ooh, how did I ever survive back before I had it so good? That's some of the biggest things. And then, of course, there are a few other minor things that hopefully you've thought about too, your social and family connections. If you do have family elsewhere, is it easy for them to come see you? Is it easy for you to go see them? How bad is that strain going to be on your relationship and your mental health, which is a big thing to look out for these days for sure. But that's pretty much the big ones that keep people away. Like I said, I'm not trying to discourage anybody in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but I also want to be realistic. If you're bound and determined to come here, kind of know what you're getting yourself into. I love it. I love the ruralness. I love to go to New York. I've been there a couple of times and absolutely loved it. Went to Broadway, gone to all the Empire State Building, you name it. I've seen it all, and I loved it, but I couldn't wait to get back to the mountains either. So just know what you're getting yourself into, and if that's something that's still appealing to you, then more power to you, because you can get a pretty nice house a lot cheaper than you can anywhere else, and the cost of living is much, much cheaper. There's a lot of advantages, but just know that there's a trade-off. Anything you do, there's a trade-off. It's not, because I get these people that are just so gung-ho and they can't see anything but the good. They have no concept that there's adjustments that have to be made, both mentally and realistically. So just keep that in my mind and pray about it and really think and study and map out where you think you'd be the most comfortable. And please come visit before. I've seen people buy houses sight unseen. They didn't even see the house. They saw an online virtual tour, buy the house, move down here, and next thing you know, it's like, ooh, I'm going to have to try to make this thing work. I can't imagine doing that, but there are people out there that don't do all kinds of stuff. So anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope it helped somebody out there.